It's cool again. Yeah. People going to clubs right now looking like Mormons, full suits. You know, they talk to their parents. It's weird.
There's a lot of new stuff, man.
Yeah.
I just learned there's a new surgery on your so you can actually reset your body count now.
You can reset your body count by squeezing up the vag?
Yeah, stem cells, it tightens it up so you're no longer loose.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
How did they do that?
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.
All right, guys, we got Yannis Pappas here today. He's in town.
It's good to be here. Good to be in Vegas. I'm glad we finally made this work, man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
You come out here a lot?
I don't. Otherwise, I would have been on.
A year ago, I think.
You're so tall. I just put my feet. Oh, that's not your feet. That's the pole. Yeah,
no, that was my shoe.
Yeah, what are you, 6'5"?
6'6", man. With the
tall drink of water, dude.
We were just talking. You played some hoops back in the day.
I did play some hoops too. Yeah,
I love it. Man.
Yeah, people always say that too. They say that I'm taller than they think. I must have a small presence.
Just on your podcast, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it your face, you think?
It's probably my big mouth, because people with a big mouth usually are shorter.
Right.
So I'm always yapping, and people think he must be a small guy. But yeah, I'm a 6-footer.
Dude, that's true, because people don't really yap when they're 6'8".
Nah, they're just quiet, and then they just, they'll beat you up if you talk. Yeah. You walk around with a confidence because you're just looking down at the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's good to be 6'6".
Yeah.
You won't live as long, though. You don't see a lot of old 6'6" people.
They've done studies on this. I was really upset when I looked at the study.
Yeah.
Because every inch past 5'10" as a guy, you lose on average a year.
Oh, no.
So I've lost 8 years.
So I'm going to stop wearing these Air Max because I'm 5'11" and 3/4. So I'm going to stop wearing these Air Max because the Air Max make you 6'1".
Okay.
Yeah.
So you lost a couple years, but.
Yeah. I'm going to gain them back by going flats. I'm going to wear sandals from now on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go barefoot.
People are walking around barefoot right now.
They do. Yeah, because they're on fentanyl and they're on the street. Yeah.
Well, I do it for grounding, but yeah, there's people on the street doing it too.
You're a spiritual guy.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recently.
Yeah. What happened? Is it just stress from business? Or doing 800 podcasts a day?
Yeah, we did 600 in a year.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a mixture of everything you just said.
Yeah, you and Rogan are doing a lot of podcasts.
Well, he does a lot and they're long.
Yeah.
I don't know how Cat Williams just came on. It was 3 hours.
Dude, first time I met him, I'm like, we're best friends now, right? Because I've never spoken to someone that intimately for that long. It's like impressive. The first one was 4 hours. And I'm like, are we married now? Because it just, it's a long time.
Yeah. Was that the first day you met him?
That was the first day I met. Well, no, yeah. The first day I met him was that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In fact, you could have a 4-hour conversation the first day you meet him.
It's not easy. It's, you're in there. And at one point I got like a little lightheaded and I was like, am I going to drop? I mean, it's almost like I think he's like, he pushes it further. Like he wants it. Like he's testing. He's seeing how long he can talk for.
Were you smoking?
I wasn't smoking, but it was in his old studio that kind of looked like it was ironic because when he first moved from California to Austin, his California studio looked really Texas. Yeah. And then his Austin studio, that first one, looked like a gay nightclub or something.
He got some heat for that.
It looked like a sushi restaurant or something.
He probably had to change it, right?
He did change it. He went back and it looks more Texas now. It's wood up, everything smells like barbecue. But that first one had no like ventilation and it was like a tube. You felt like you were in like an alien craft. Oh. So there was zero ventilation in there. We were smoking cigars. So at one point I was just like, I almost felt like I had a similar experience when I was an altar boy in the Greek Orthodox Church, and they do that incense everywhere, and altar boys would pass out like during church because there's just no ventilation. So at one point I was like getting wheezy, and I had just met him, and I was like, do I tell him? Do I say, hey man, we need to stop? But I just muscled through it.
Wow. Yeah, those cigar lounges, man. I'd be walking out of there literally hanging on the walls.
Yeah, there's no oxygen in there.
You get dizzy, man. Yeah, Greek Orthodox Church. What goes down there?
No, I don't. We don't. There's not a lot of banging kids.
Okay, that's good.
The Catholics have a monopoly on that.
Yeah.
They're really the Amazon of that. They've really taken over. Priests can marry, which I think is important.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of like sexual scandals, but there's your regular run of the mill money scandals, priest stealing stuff. But it's an old Christian religion. I mean, I'm not like practicing. I don't go a lot, but I was an altar boy when I was little. My parents tried, but now Christianity's getting hot.
It is.
It's getting hot right now. I think your generation. What are you, Gen Z?
I don't even know. I'm 27, whatever that is.
Z, yeah. It's getting hot again.
Dude, yeah.
I mean, you see the Super Bowl, it was like, Jesus was like put a lot of money up for commercials. I mean, there was like 10 Jesus commercials.
You're not wrong, man.
Yeah. It's getting hot. It's getting cool right now.
Yeah, it wasn't cool in high school. I was atheist.
Yeah, no, you got to go full blown born again Christian conservative. That's what's at the clubs right now.
Yeah, people are resetting their body counts because they're just going Christian.
Yeah, that's
You know?
right. Yeah, they're going, dude, I'm a virgin. Yeah, it's cool again. Yeah, yeah. People going to the clubs right now looking like Mormons, full suits. You know, they talk to their parents. It's weird.
There's a lot of new stuff, man.
Yeah.
I just learned there's a new surgery on your so you can actually reset your body count now.
You can reset your body count by squeezing up the vag.
Yeah, stem cells, it tightens it up so
Yeah.
you're no longer loose.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
How did they do that?
Just some stem cells. You could get it in your too.
Yeah. Could you just, if you're a girl and you had a high body count, can you just do like 100 Chinese guys in a row and that'll tighten it back up?
Oh, Chinese guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
They do say they're smaller, right?
I mean,
I'm half Chinese.
Oh, so are you big? What's the other half?
Irish.
Irish kid, something. Well,
I think it offsetted it because
Did it
I'm
offset?
above average because they've done studies on length.
Yeah.
And I think the average is 5.1 in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
I will say I'm above that.
Yeah.
So I think it offsetted the Asian.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Is that your mom or your dad?
My dad was Irish.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
He was 6'5". We went to Ireland though. I would not recommend it.
Yeah, because why not?
Rains every day.
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
Yeah, that's why those people like to drink.
They just drink all day.
They just drink. But I heard it's a beautiful place.
It is beautiful if it's not raining, but
Yeah.
it's raining all day. Man.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like Seattle and Portland. I'm just not a fan. I think the worst place I've been is Tacoma.
Wow.
Yeah, I hated Tacoma.
Washington, right?
Yeah, that's the home of what's his name, the serial killer.
Serial
Ted Bundy. With Ted Bundy. I went and saw his house.
So that makes sense now.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah. Like who else has come out of Tacoma? It's really just he's like the all-star from there.
Yeah.
There's no other like big names coming out of Tacoma. The architecture looks like Russian. It's like Eastern European, boxy. It's rainy. Yeah, you want to. The weather's like nuclear fallout. It's just coated with clouds.
Wow.
It's brutal.
If you're inside all day, you're gonna go crazy. You saw with
That's why people like there. You'll see like a 60, 70-year-old woman with like purple hair, and I think they do that just to brighten up their existence.
Yeah.
Like so they can look at each other and see some bright colors because otherwise it's just chemically I think it messes with you.
sure. What's
Yeah.
your first reaction when you see someone with dyed hair like that?
I say they're definitely against the war in Israel. I say they're part-time protesting. Yeah, and that there's a good chance they're from the Pacific Northwest.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's hard to take people serious. I don't know what it is about it. It's just like, dude, you dyed your hair pink. Like, what are we going to talk about? You know what I mean?
Oh, they got a lot to talk about. Yeah. You definitely, look, there's an old expression. You can't judge a book by its cover, but you can definitely judge a conversation by its haircut. So if you see
like
pink
that.
hair, someone's about to give you an earful about Palestine or whatever, the banks, or you're going to get an earful about something.
Yeah.
So,
I stayed out of that war because I feel like no matter what side you publicly supported, you're going to get shit on.
yeah, and there's nothing you can do. I mean, there's a guy who keeps DMing me, and I'm an idiot. Like, I open my DMs. I really shouldn't. I keep opening this DM from this guy, and he just keeps sending me like pictures and stories about like what's going on in Palestine. And I'm like, and he's like, your country's the KKK, all this. I'm like, God, what do you want me to do about it? Why? You're obviously not well if you're invested emotionally in something like this that is beyond our. What do you want me? You want me to call Benjamin Netanyahu and tell him to chill?
Yeah.
You want me to call celebrities and be like, make another Stop It video? I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's like that's the funny thing about those Stop It videos in Hollywood. Like, you get like 6 actors together and they're like, stop, and you're like, all right, that's gonna do it. That really did it. Mark Ruffalo put out a video, so Israel's gonna change its military tactics.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what do you want us to do? You know, I just go on podcasts, I tell jokes, and I'm trying to live lit. I just want to be lit.
Yeah.
Let me be lit.
You're pretty open with what you talk about, though. I will say that.
I am.
You cover everything.
People, my podcast, the Yannis Pappas Hour. I try to make fun of everybody. I try to, and that's not a great thing in this climate. I think people want you to go hard on one side or the other so they can kind of rah you, but I just get too much pleasure in ripping everybody apart and having fun no matter what their political affiliation.
I like that, though, because a lot of people in your spot are too scared to pick a side, and they're like robots. Like, I saw The Rock on Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
and he had no emotion. I mean, he was so scared of getting canceled that the whole interview
Yeah, well,
It
he's
was
got.
just
I
tough.
mean, I can understand it. He's got so many sponsors. He's The Rock. He does movies. He's like a politician.
At this point,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's like 8-year-olds that love him. There's 6-year-olds that love him. I mean, if there's a 6-year-old tuning into my show, then their parents are like dead in the living room with fentanyl. They're just not watching the kid.
Yeah.
It's an irresponsible thing. So I understand, like, but that's got to really weigh on you when you can't say anything that's ever on your mind, and you constantly got to check, you know,
With your PR team.
with your PR team. I mean, I've had sports shows in the past. Athletes they can't say anything.
Right.
So like, I don't even know why they try. Sports comedy could be like a very big. Barstool does it great, you know. They do it the best, but they don't really. You never really see them messing with athletes until the athletes are like retired.
Yeah.
Because when the athletes are playing for the, you know, Dana and the UFC is different. Those guys they'll go up there and yell FAG. It's just like take free speech. But other leagues are just way. I mean, baseball, basketball, you can't say
I agree.
anything.
Because I've had on a couple NBA guys, and I literally see them thinking about what they can and can't say when I ask the question.
Yeah, they're like, well, Adidas. They just see dollar. Like, all right, Adidas can't say that because of Adidas. Can't say that because of Subway. You know, they just have so many sponsors. So I get it. You know, it's not a fun way to be a comedian for sure, because our job is to say the most irresponsible things. I actually think comedy is a great litmus test for where the country's at. Because if the comedy scene is very healthy, which it is right now because of the internet, which is great, I think it means that freedom is in a good place, because I think it's really the sole indicator that your society is free is like comedians saying whatever. I mean, I think that's the job of comedy, is like to say irresponsible things, to keep everyone in check, to make sure that you're allowed to say anything.
Right.
And
that is a good gauge.
Yeah, it's a good gauge. It really is.
And there were periods during your career where you couldn't say whatever you wanted, right?
That's the thing. It was like, you know, that I think that era's come to an end. Like that cancel culture era has come to an end because people just got tired of it. They kind of saw through it. Like, oh, this guy said something. All right. There's a million people that said thing. They tried to cancel too many people. But that era, to be honest with you, was really only online. And my analysis of it was it's people making content for themselves. So cancel content is content. Right. You're a content creator. Everyone's making content. So if you're taking someone down, that's your content. You're doing it for the same reasons we're all doing it.
Right. It's ironic.
To get viewers, to make some noise, to build your brand, to self-aggrandize. So, you know, there's people out there who are content creators canceling people.
Dude, I see it on my YouTube every day. They go after the comedians on YouTube, man.
Yeah, they want to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard. But, you know, live, you don't feel it at all. And so that's how I knew it wasn't really like a real thing. Because like you go do a live show, you say anything, nobody cares. Yeah. It's like everyone understands that the intent of what you're doing is to try to make people laugh. So like nobody who was funny in class when they were saying the right thing. That's not funny. Yeah. Saying the right, like you shouldn't be racist. It's not funny, but saying you should be racist and here's why, with a certain intonation, a certain cadence, and in a certain context, can be funny. Right. You know, so they were really, that era was trying to define comedy out of existence. Yeah. When, you know, and it didn't work.
Thank God it didn't work.
No, it didn't work. I mean, look at Shane. I mean, Shane Gillis now is bigger than ever.
He got canceled, right? And then he came back.
In a big way. I mean, it was like, you know, front page news on all the major mainstream media outlets.
What did he even do? He said some words?
He said, he was on a podcast. It was probably one of a million things he said. But he was talking about Chinatown back in the day and how like a real estate person would talk back then. And he said the word, this podcast I can say, right? Even though you're Chinese.
I don't care.
Okay? Yeah, he said chink.
Okay.
Right? But he was saying it through the voice of the character of someone back in the day. But they just clipped out chink, and then there was a Chinese guy that just got hired, Bowen Yang on SNL. Oh. So he was like, I don't feel comfortable, I don't feel safe. So it just got all this attention.
That's the problem with the clips, because they can clip out anything from any show.
And when you take comedy out of its context, it dies. It's like trying to take a fish out of water. Yeah. You know, it's like gonna die. I mean, the words that are said only can only be understood in the context of a comedy club, comedian's intent, a comedian's clip. So when you just take it out, it just looks like a speech.
Yeah.
You know, if you type it down, it's not in the context of comedy, man. Now it's in the context of your article and your intention. And your intention is to take these words and say, hey, these words are bad in this other context. I'm going to make them be this context when they weren't. They were, the context was comedic.
Plus, plus there's words 10, 20 years ago that you said on your shows that are looked down on now.
Yeah.
Like the R word, F word, whatever.
Yeah. And that's just a stupid thing now, because now people, you know, I have a special needs brother, and even I'm saying special needs, but now people take special needs and they use it as a pejorative.
Right.
So and now it's funny because like person of color is now back, but person of color was bad like 10 years ago. You're like, don't call me color, person of color. I'm not a person. And now you'd be like, now that's what you want to say. So it's like, it's just words. I mean, it's really the intent of the word that people, and the context of the word that people should pay attention to. I mean, we're not children, we're adults. I mean, people from marginalized groups know when someone's racist and they know when someone's not. And it's not just the word. It's like, you can tell.
They try to hit Trump with the racist card for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they clip him out of context a lot. You know, when you look at the full context of like that border speech about Mexicans are rapists and murderers, you take the whole clip, you're like, he didn't really say that. They take him out of context a lot, even with NATO. They take him out of context with Russia. And then if you go research, like, you know, people are like, oh, he's in bed with Russia. And then you go research like all the sanctions. He sanctioned Russia more than Obama. I mean, I think like 52 actions against Russia. He was hard on Russia. Yeah. So when Putin says he prefers Biden, he may mean it. And you can actually even look at it as like a positive strategy with Putin, right? To like talk friendly, like the rhetoric is kind of not friendly, but like semi-friendly, semi-obsequious, like, hey, I respect him for this, or whatever he says. But then, you know, he talks softly but carries a big stick, because you look at the actual policies that he did, the facts, the objective reality of what his actions were as president. He was hard on Russia. Wow. He was, like I said, he was harder on, that's a fact. I mean, just by his policy actions, he was hard on Russia. So it's like, there's that old expression, I think it was Harry Truman, like, talk softly, or Teddy Roosevelt, talk softly, carry a big stick. So, I mean, maybe in some ways you could argue that that's more effective than just the rhetoric, the constant rhetoric of Russia's bad. It's like, you know, you're dealing with someone who, on the other side, from our adversary, Putin, who's, you know, he's a former KGB officer. He's slick. He loves using subterfuge and intelligence and, you know, fake articles and all that stuff. So maybe being a little tricky with him back is the way to go, you know? So it's interesting. Yeah, they painted a picture of Trump as very pro-Russia. And I know there was a couple people in his campaign that were, you know, a little irresponsible with like talking to them and stuff. But he himself, you know, his actions speak for themselves. But they don't make the front line. They don't make those front headlines. You know, they don't. When you do good things, they'll never put that on front page. No, it's salacious. It doesn't get as many views. No, it's a salacious world we live in now. You know, I think when the internet happened and the media didn't like fully adapt, they were a little behind it, and they started giving articles away for free. That was sort of the beginning of the end of trusting the media, because they, out of necessity, became salacious because they became content creators themselves, trying to chase views. And so their headlines became increasingly editorialized because it gets you to click more. Yeah. And they're dependent on ads, where they used to be dependent on subscriptions. So now it's just like, you got to click. So you're like, Trump's a rate. And you're like, I got to click on that, you know? It's like, is that why they started charging again? I saw some of them. They're trying. Yeah, they're trying. But yeah, I mean, every time I go to an outlet, you know, my podcast is, you know, I review the news every week and have fun. And I go to an article and it says, click here to subscribe. I just click off and go to another article that's free. Yeah, I just go somewhere that's free and read it. So if they would have started with subscription when the internet's like, maybe people would have got used to that. Yeah. But now people got used to free articles. So it's like trying to make your podcast subscription only. Like people are just going to go, I'm going to go watch the free one. It's absolutely. Yeah, they just didn't adapt well. Which outlets do you trust right now? It's hard to say, man. Yeah, it's hard. Ground news is great.
Okay.
And I use Ground News. And they always love when I give them a shout out. They should pay me more.
They should.
Yeah. But Ground News, they're an independent company, and they're great because they rate the articles based on their what they deem to be their sway. So if they feel like it's more right, they'll tell you it's more right. This one's more left. If one's center, they'll deem it center.
Okay.
So you go in reading it knowing that this outlet has this type of bent. You know, they lean left, lean right, fully right, and they have red bars and blue bars. And so if one's fully right, it's like the red bar is
I want to
huge.
read that.
Yeah. If it's fully blue, it's like that. So they I like that. I like reading that.
I stopped listening to the news, reading the news.
I think there's a lot of people who are disillusioned with the news, you know. It's I think they get caught a lot in things that aren't true, you know.
It's just so negative. It literally puts you in a bad mood.
It puts you in a bad mood, and I think it's the car crash effect. You know, it's why is there traffic a lot of times? It's because someone's pulled over on the side of the road, and people will need to see it. Like there's something in our brain, something evolutionary that's in our brain that makes us pay attention to the negative more than the positive. You know, it's so much easier to have a negative thought than a positive one.
Right.
And it probably has something to do with like not wanting to be ostracized from the tribe. You know, we've only been, you know, the Industrial Revolution was like what? 150, not even 200 years ago. Before that, we were really dependent on what other people thought about us and if they approved of us. So there's something in our brain that makes us just look at car crashes. So the news just becomes a car crash for clicks.
Yeah.
And so it's always negative, and you know, there's that loophole in our brain where we just look at it.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Survival instinct almost, right?
It's almost like a survival instinct. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And so the news kind of plays on that. And I don't know if they do it consciously. I know I had a show on an old network called Fusion, which was it was an interesting thing to look back on because it was owned by ABC News, which was owned by Disney. So essentially Disney owned it, and it was owned by Univision. It was a joint venture with Univision and Disney. And they built this massive studio in Miami, $100 million. It's in Doral. And they spent tons of money on trying to create a new network for millennials, for younger people. And it didn't work. It died so fast. And this was 2013. And it died because the switch had already happened. You know, people had phones. They had just as much power, if not more, than people with all this money behind them and production and everything. And it just died. But when I was working there, it was a whole bunch of old school ABC News producers working there. And I remember one of the, mission statements for our show was like, I remember, and I always remembered this, one of the producers was like, let's pick a fight, pick a fight. And I was like, oh, that's how this works. Like pick a fight because that's it. People love drama. And so, everyone is aware of how to get a bigger audience. And a lot of times it's not coward. It can be very manipulative and
it's a game we play, right?
Yeah, just like let's start a fight, let's pick a fight because people love drama. You see it in rap all the time. People, pay attention to the soap opera of who's beefing and whatnot, and people just enjoy it.
Some of those beefs are fake.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are fake. Yeah, I mean, I think that you look at what sells in boxing. I think that's why the UFC got very very popular, and I think in a lot of ways usurped boxing. I mean, of course, the big stars in boxing still draw, but not the other guys. No. It's got to be Canelo. Whereas the UFC, there's none of that politics. There's not 100 belts. There's not. It's just like we're selling the card. Like we're selling the card. The fights are real. The guys who need to fight each other will fight each other. They're not. There's no promoters. There's one. It kind of works better as a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Like Dana just goes, these are the two best guys. They're fighting now, and like they fight or don't fight or you leave. And so. I think that's why it's gained so much popularity.
Yeah, they've crushed it.
Yeah, whereas in boxing, it needs to be this bad guy, good guy, all this talk. I mean, it helps in the UFC, to have a good build-up, but people have watched the card more than they're tuning in to a specific fight, and the cards are every week. And it's great. I love it. I tune in. It's just amazing.
I couldn't name 5 boxers right now.
Yeah, it's tough. I think most people couldn't.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I think most people just go Canelo, right? And then they're just the casual fan. Yeah.
What do you think about the power slap stuff?
Well, 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 I think you should call it a more honest name. I think you should just call it practice hostage hitting. I mean, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm amused by how much he just doesn't care and keeps pushing it. He just keeps throwing it up on his gram, and like all the contents are just like, what is this? This is not a sport. But yeah, I think it's stupid. Yeah.
I don't think
I say that with respect because I love the UFC.
I love UFC. I love Dana, but I wouldn't do power slap ever.
No, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, it's not a sport. I mean, what is it? It's hostage hitting. It's a guy with his hands behind his back, and you're going like, tell me where the enemy lines are. And it's a guy smacks him, and he either passes out or he doesn't. It's a little too brutal.
You get in any fights growing up in the streets of Brooklyn?
Yeah, it was rough growing up in that era. I mean, I grew up in kind of a nicer area, but the circumference of what was nice was much smaller. I grew up in Park Slope, Brooklyn, and it was just a bad time in New York. It was just an awful era. I grew up in the 80s.
Was the mob still running it then?
The mob was still running it. Ironically, that's not what you really worried about. You worried about like kids. There was just packs of kids everywhere.
Really?
If you go back and look at the news from the 80s, there's all these headlines about wilding kids. They used to be calling them wilding kids. And yeah, there was just gangs and kids. And it was very typical to get robbed and beat up and chased on Halloween by 40 kids. And yeah, it was not fun. Gentrification was a good thing. Let me tell you something. If you see lesbians moving into a bad neighborhood, buy in that neighborhood. I know you're a business guy. Because lesbians are the Marines of gentrification. They're the first ones in. When you see them go in, they're tough. They start a softball game. They open a bar. They plant a flag. That means the next is coming is like the young kids from the suburbs who are dreaming. They want to move there to become like an artist. Everyone wants to be a comedian now. And then once the gays come in, they come in and they do the interior design, and they are the Navy. So the ground troops are the young kids from the suburbs. The Marines, the lesbians, and then when the Navy's in there, it's full-blown $1 million properties. Yeah, once the gays are in, forget it. Gay guys.
Teamwork,
yeah, that's the process of gentrification.
Oh, so that's what happened in Brooklyn?
That's what happened in Brooklyn. Yeah,
because now the houses are like $1 million. Right?
Dude, $1 million is low. I mean, in the neighborhood I grew up, my father bought that house. It used to be like a very Irish neighborhood, working class, like. They still have a St. Patty's Day parade there before the main St. Patty's Day parade. He bought that house from a family called Murphy for $28,000.
Wow.
In 1959, I believe. They still had like a wood stove that was heating the house or whatever.
Damn.
So, and then now those properties are worth like $4 or $5 million.
Is your dad still there?
No, he's gone. But yeah,
wow,
yeah.
So you guys sold it eventually?
We sold it. Yeah, we sold it. We got a nice little penny for it,
and then moved to LA.
And then I still live in New York.
Oh, New York?
Yeah, I'm still in New York. I live in like upstate New York now, but I still have an apartment in Brooklyn, in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
So you got your space upstate.
I got my space upstate. I live in horse country. I got a wife, 2 kids now, so I'm living living a different life. Yeah, it's a different life. No more party.
Were you a big party growing up?
No, but drinking was big in comedy. Drinking was big when I was coming up. And we were talking before the podcast started. Yeah, people were using drugs too. I didn't, but you can't now. Like, you just can't. There's fentanyl and everything. You got to walk around with a full team of scientists to test everything because you just never know what's in it. I mean, people are just dropping dead like flies from fentanyl.
Teenagers.
It's all over the place.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Would you drink before your show or after?
I would drink before my show when I was young and inexperienced and nervous, and that was just bad. I just realized it was bad.
Yeah.
Like it's like with drugs, man. You feel like, when you're on and you're like, I'm the most interesting man in the world. And then you talk to your friends who weren't on and they're like, you were the most annoying person last night. It's just not real. Same thing with alcohol. Like, it's just not real. You're just numb. You're numbing yourself. You're numbing your nerves. And that's bad in comedy. You want the nerves. You want to feel the pressure because that makes you sharp. You're about to go out there and do something that carries high consequences. Right. It hurts your feelings when you don't do well. Yeah. There's a reason why people's biggest fear above dying is public speaking. It goes back to that thing we were talking about, that survival instinct or whatever. It's in us.
It was mine for like 24 years.
Public speaking.
My biggest fear, yeah.
Yeah. And it's weird because it's not dangerous.
It's not. It's just like you're so vulnerable, I think.
You're so vulnerable. And I think it's just something in our brain. I think it's beyond even our comprehension. It's an instinct. I think it's like, don't speak out against the tribe. Don't go up there solo, blend in, survive. Yeah. It's something like deep in us. It's like almost intrinsic to our nature.
I see that.
Yeah.
Back in your day, you couldn't get instant feedback with social media. You had to go to the show and perform.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more like in-person stuff.
It's you're getting rejected in real time. And when you're a comedian, you're getting rejected every 8 seconds. You're up again. And it's pretty much like 8 seconds. You don't have a lot of time. You need a laugh. So, your generation, you guys are all psychopaths and it's great. You don't care anymore. You see the comedians now in their 20s, they just go up there, and my generation would be like, this guy's bombing. But they're just like, show went great, didn't it? And they're like, because they're just going to take one clip and throw it up. They don't give they don't give about the hour show. Yeah. So, I meet a lot of people your age, and I'm taken aback by the confidence, and it's a good thing. I think a lot of it is social media too. It's like any question you need answered, not just social media. I mean the internet, and who knows what it'll be with AI. But like any question you have, you can get it answered. Like with us, it was like we didn't know. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was a hermaphrodite for my whole life. It was just a rumor that spread around. So you couldn't go to like ChatGPT or Google.
Look it up.
You couldn't look it up. So you're like, you didn't know anything. If you wanted to pursue something, you had to do it for years and years and years. You couldn't go watch all these clips of comedians and just go, I'm going to take that. I'm going to get, study that, take that. And I barely even knew stand-up comedy was a field. I always thought like Robin Williams and Eddie Murphy and I thought they were actors and like were doing shows because they were actors. I didn't know there was clubs and there was no internet.
Yeah.
It was like you had to go look that up in the mish under the Mish film, whatever it's called.
It's a lot quicker to learn now. You can just go on Matt Rife's Instagram, study how he does it, and just implement it right away.
Exactly. It's just kind of like, and that's what everyone's doing. And yeah, it's just everything's a lot easier. There's just access to everything, which is ironic that people have become in a lot of ways very naive, which is interesting.
I'm curious on the business side of things. Is the majority of the money made while you're touring?
The money is made touring and podcasts now. There's guys making money now that are like what movie stars used to make. Wow. It's insane what they make. Yeah. And it's not a lot of guys. You have to have a big pod.
Yeah.
But the ones that are big, the money is insane. When you tell a comic from the previous era, because I'm in between eras. So like my era was like I said to you, 2012, 13, when I had that show at Fusion, it was already changed, and now it's full fruition. But you talk to a guy from the old era that's like, you have to have a sitcom. You got it. What? The guy's not on TV, and you tell him what this guy's making. It's almost like probably what the Native Americans thought when they saw the conquistador ships. Like they just couldn't fathom. They must be gods. They're wearing gold. Like you can't fathom it. Like the money's insane. It's like Matt Damon. It's like the money is crazy.
Wow.
And these are people that aren't on TV, you've never heard of. For example, Andrew Schultz has never done a stand-up set on television.
What?
He's never done a stand-up special or even a late night set or anything on television. He never did a Comedy Central half hour. He never did anything from the traditional route that is now extinct. And he's selling out Madison Square Garden overnight.
Holy crap.
Yeah, he sold out 2 Madison Square Gardens like in a day.
How many people fit in there?
That's like 15 to 17 or 18,000.
And they're each paying probably what, like 50 each? So
who knows? Yeah, they're paying. Yeah, it's the money's insane.
That's crazy. And I know Theo Vaughn's making a lot off this show.
Dude, you're talking about millions and millions and millions and millions. Matt Rife's deal with Live Nation that sold out like what, in a week or something, like world tour.
Crazy.
It's like $20 million, $30 million, and that's just the tour money.
It's a new era. It's cool to see you embrace it, though. I feel like a lot of older guys would be kind of pissed off.
I think it's a positive thing. I think it's net positive. There's a lot more opportunity, and complaining about it is just stupid. Like if you don't like what another guy's doing, that has nothing to do with you. You're just complaining because you're not doing it and you don't have it. Anyone can build a following. Nobody is generally famous anymore. Like my buddy Nate Bargatze is doing arenas now, and he could walk down the street. He's doing arenas, like an arena tour. And he could walk around, and I bet you like 1 out of 5 people or 1 out of 10 would know who he is, whereas Brad Pitt can't walk around like that, because that era was like we all watched all the same movies. Right. Now people are watching what they're interested in, what things are. Everybody has a niche following, so you can build a niche following. So sitting around and complaining about, Matt Rife or whatever. First of all, Matt Rife's been great for comedy because he's gotten a lot of people into comedy that weren't into comedy. So that's great. That if you look at it positively, that's great for all comedians because there's just more people. I mean, comedy is the biggest it's ever been. This is the biggest comedy boom in the history of man.
Wow.
Dude, there is never been an era where you've had this many people selling this many tickets, doing this many theater tours, doing this many arena tours. They're the new rock stars. I mean, nobody's selling like comedians right now.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's massive. And so it's been good for comedy in general. But a person I like to talk about who's a good example of what you're saying is Jessica Kirson. She's been around forever. Everyone always said she needed more. She deserved more. She started a YouTube channel, like in a year, it got up to 1 million followers. And, she's not young. And she found her audience, and her audience found her. And now she's killing it. So it's like, if anyone's bitter about it, it's because they're just not doing it. Because if you are good, eventually you'll find your audience, and your audience will find you. Yeah.
What do you think of Cat Williams blowing up, man?
Cat Williams is crazy. Fuck, he's crazy, dude. He's funny. And he's a throwback. He's a comedian who's not fully stable. I'll be honest, he's just not. I don't think everything he's saying is true. I'm just being honest. But he's one of the most hilarious guys out there. So I love it. I tune into it. I think some of the things he's saying are probably true. Some of them aren't. I think some of them he probably is guessing about. He's entertaining. I think he's drawing a lot of conclusions that a lot of people with schizophrenia sometimes draw. But he's an incredible comedian. His special, that one, it was on HBO or something. It was one of the best specials ever, the one that had that Michael Jackson joke on it. He's just an incredibly funny guy. So
you don't believe him reading 1,000 books a year?
No, I don't believe that.
People went nuts over that.
Is that what he said? Yeah, I don't believe it. I think there's a lot of hyperbole there, and it's fine. I think he's an entertainer. I think he's an entertainer. The guys who are really smart, you never hear about them. You never hear. They don't have the entertainer chip in their brain where they want attention, and
that emotional aspect I think is tough for the super smart guys.
Exactly,
that's why Elon kills it, because he somehow has both.
Yeah,
but that's so rare,
and he does it very awkwardly.
It is awkward. Yeah,
you could tell he's not responding to the social cues perfectly because his brain is just working, and he's just smarter. And it is what it is. People's brains are different.
Absolutely.
And people who want attention like me, there's something wrong with us. Yeah. Like, don't believe what I say. I'm doing it for attention. I mean, the primary motivation is I obviously lacked some attention as a kid, and I'm doing this for attention. Wow. Yeah. And I just happen to have charisma or whatever it is and make people laugh. But I mean, yeah, don't make comedians your soothsayers. I mean, we're not.
Yeah, we're getting deep there, but I've honestly talked to a few comedians now, and they all have some traumas. I don't know if that's related or.
Yeah, yes, it is related. Wow. I think it is. Yeah, I think it's I think it's directly related. I think the good ones too, especially
because you want to fit in, so you
want attention, you want to fit in, you're trying to get love somewhere that your parents didn't give. I think childhood neglect. I mean, you wouldn't think it's true, but the more they study this stuff and the leaps and bounds that they are making in the mental health field is incredible, just because of the neuroscience that they can look at the brain now.
Right.
And they're understanding so much, and trauma is becoming more and more known as one of the biggest factors in mental health. And a lot of people aren't aware of their trauma because the brain protects you from it. So you block it out, you rationalize it. And trauma is, I think, ironically, often neglect. And I say ironically because people think, when they think trauma, they think, oh, you were beat, you were beaten up or abused or, you know, sexual stuff. But I think in a weird way, neglect can sometimes be worse because you're not being paid attention to, and we're a social species. And those first couple of years, those first 5 years when the brain is forming, you need it like water and food.
Right.
And so if you're neglected by your parents, I think that can traumatize you as much and sometimes more than actually being abused, because abuse, you're actually getting some attention. So although it's bad, you know, you're getting attention to it. And a lot of people who are abused, you'll see, will continue to seek out those bad patterns because to them that's attention. So that's bad for a different reason, but you know.
Yeah, toxic relationships. You see the girl just keeps attracting them every time, right?
Yeah. But neglect is, I think, overlooked, and it's something that makes you feel like, you know, when you bring up, like, my parents didn't pay attention. It's like, yeah, that's bad, dude. That's bad. Babies need love.
Happened to me too, to be honest.
There's got to be a reason why you're talking to strangers.
Yeah. I was an only child. Come home, no one's home, and I was pretty lonely growing
you're
up.
hard to miss. You're 6'6", so your parents were really. Do you sure a lot of that wasn't just like Irish people don't talk because they bury their trauma, and then the Chinese are just like Tiger Mom and everything.
Yeah, I think I got both ends, right? Yeah. My dad was an alcoholic. He was Irish, so he wasn't there. And then my mom was just strict.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So I got both of them.
Yeah, no, the Irish just, they pour liquor on it. They push it down. They push it where they go.
Case of 30 every day.
Yeah, they push it down.
Crazy.
Yeah. They push it down to trauma.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened?
Who knows, man. Well, dude, I can see how Rogan talked to you for 4 hours, man.
Yeah.
We're 40 minutes in.
Oh, we're 40 minutes in already? Yeah. This is fun.
Crazy, man. Thanks for coming on. Anything you want to promote?
Yeah, man. Check out my podcast, please. Yannis Pappas Hour. And catch me on the road live. I'm touring everywhere. Go to YannisPappasComedy.com. You can catch me coming up in Cleveland, Toronto, Tulsa, Kansas City. I'm probably forgetting something. But just go to my website and get the tour dates.
Cool. Yeah, we'll link it below. Thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.